Thank you for joining us. Today my guest is Angela Snell, Director of Public Facilities for the town of Shrewsbury. Thank you for joining me and talking about, in particular today, you have a lot of responsibilities, but today we want to talk about programs and events with the Park and Rec Department.
Yes, well, thank you for having me today.
So you've got some exciting things. We're talking spring and summer.
Yes.
Let people get it in their schedules, what's going on, or in their minds at least, what's going on. And so what is coming up this spring and summer?
Well, the first thing that comes up is Town Cleanup Day, which is in the spring. That's on Saturday, April 6th.
Okay.
So now that all the snow is starting to melt, this is a good time to you can join with your neighbors or your friends or a church group and get assigned a location and help clean up, all the stuff that's hidden in the snow that appears. There's a lot of trash, unfortunately, that collects over the winter, and we supply trash bags and gloves, and then you guys pick it up, and then we'll come around and pick up the full bags and get rid of it. So kind of a way to spruce up the town.
Oh, that's a great
community
winter effort.
Yes.
That's great.
Yep.
And then what else is going on?
So after that, we gear up into Memorial Day. So that's a big event in town.
Okay.
On Monday, May 27th is the annual Memorial Day Parade and services. Our department works with some of the veterans organizations in town to organize that. The parade starts at the town hall. It goes to the center of town in front of the War Memorial.
Okay.
That's where we have the services, and then it continues into Mountain View Cemetery. So the bands are involved, the Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts. We welcome any veteran to march in the parade. Town officials are there. We try to get a flyover. Sometimes we do. It all depends on the weather, and if the local Air National Guard's available. Sometimes they're overseas and can't do it, but we're aiming for that.
And what time does that start?
So the parade actually starts at 9:30 from the town hall, but if you want to march in the parade, we ask that you get there at like 8:45, 9 o'clock to get into formation, and we line everybody up from there.
Okay, well, that's great. It's nice that you're doing something around Memorial Day.
Yes.
Not every town has been able to do that over the last decade
we've been
or so.
pretty good about sticking with the tradition of keeping it on Monday, which is nice.
Yes, I think that's great.
Yep.
And then after Memorial Day?
So then, after Memorial Day, my favorite event is Kids Equipment Day. We're actually turning it into Kids Equipment Day DPW Open House because Parks and Rec is now in the DPW. So we're going to focus. This is an open house at the Highway Garage, which is on 211 South Street. So we have all the town equipment, the sand trucks, the tractors, the backhoes. You can come and see all the equipment up close.
Oh, kids love that.
Yes, kids love it. Adults love it too.
Well, I suppose, yes.
Sometimes the adults love it more than the kids. So you can climb on the trucks, take pictures, find out about...
Can't take them home with you guys.
Can't take them home.
Can't take them home.
We will give you a ride in one of the trucks around the back. So that's on Saturday, June 1st, and it's from 9 to 1. South Street Garage is 211 South Street. We've also teamed up with New England Public Works Association. It's called Fill the Truck. So we do a toiletry drive for St. Anne's Human Services. So we have one of the trucks parked out at the event, and if you could bring like toilet paper or paper towels or dish soap, we collect all that day, and then we bring it to St. Anne's as another community service project.
That's great. And people have been associated with food pantries.
Yes.
People forget, or they don't think of food pantries, which is great.
Yeah.
They're supplying food, but, and WIC does some good things, and there are other organizations that tend to provide more food, but things like paper goods, and toilet paper, I don't know if you're collecting diapers, but with my grandniece, we take care of our grandniece sometimes now. The cost of baby wipes and diapers is out of sight. And paper towels and toilet paper, you can't, toilet paper's a necessity, and it's expensive. So anything like that, can people bring diapers and
yeah, I'm sure they would take that as well. So last year we filled up a 2-ton dump truck, so we hope to do that again this year.
Oh,
so,
that's
which is great.
And I really, people don't realize just how expensive and how important
Right,
that is.
right.
Unless you have a
Yeah.
baby, in which
Yep.
case you really know how
Right.
expensive diapers and baby wipes have gotten, or anybody.
Yeah.
You need
Right,
toilet
right.
paper,
Yep.
and it's
and
not,
it goes right, towards the community here in Shrewsbury,
Yeah,
which is
that's
nice.
great.
Yeah.
That's super.
So, yeah.
All right.
Then after that, then we gear up into summer concerts.
That's
Everyone's
my other
favorite, yeah.
Yes, that's my other favorite. Love the concert.
Yes. So this year we have 2 summer concerts planned. We actually team up with the Friends of the Public Library, so we both promote the concerts and work together on that. The first one's Wednesday, July 17th, the Beatles for Sale. That's always a popular
I was going to
band.
say, I was there last year.
Yeah.
They were great.
Yes.
Yeah, they
so
were
we're having
great.
them back. They have so many songs to choose from. And then the second concert is August 7th. It's also a Wednesday. It's the Tom Nuttall Big Band is going to
great.
play. So it'll be different.
I like that too.
Yep.
Yeah,
So that one's going to be at 6:30. And so they're both at Dean Park at the bandstand.
Mm-hmm.
If for some reason we have bad weather, we move them into the library. We'll have them at the library. So,
okay.
yeah. So they're always going to be on that day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
That'd be a trick with the Beatles group in particular,
Yes.
because I was there last year.
I
and
know
there were
it'll be a
people.
tight location, but so
But
yeah.
the great concert, and
Yeah.
I like big band music on
Yeah.
occasion still
Yeah,
too.
so it should be fun.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's super.
So we have 2 other events that we're working on. We haven't finalized the dates yet, but one is going to be a Frisbee dog show. That's going to be sometime towards the end of school. They come out to Oak Middle School and they do tricks with the dogs, so you can watch it at the football field. So that we'll have that posted on our website. And the other one is a movie night, outdoor movie night.
Oh,
so
that's
we get
nice.
a big inflatable movie screen, and we'll play a movie. That'll be sometime in the end of August. So
Oh,
we're
nice.
just kind of finalizing the details on that. So
Oh, that's great. That's
yeah.
Again, that's a fun
Yeah,
community thing.
get
Come
people
out and
outside
grab
and
something
yes,
to eat on a nice
right.
night. It's beautiful, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yep.
That's great. Well, everybody, for information, they can do what to get
Yeah,
refresher
so-
on the dates or
Yes,
whatever.
so if you, there's a couple ways. You can go to the town website, and we're under Parks and Recreation.
Okay.
You can sign up for our listserv. We send out news flashes about when these events are
great.
coming up. We're also on Twitter and Instagram, and that's at Shrewsbury Parks.
Okay.
And then you can follow us there. We'll post pictures and announce the events on that as well.
All right, great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming and
Thank
sharing
you.
all that information. I'm excited about the concerts, and
Yes.
I see a real need with the collection of toilet paper, paper towels,
Yeah,
diapers,
good.
and wipes at your other
Great.
events. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And we'll be right back. Hi, I'm here with Ellen Dolan, the director of Shrewsbury's Library. Thank you for coming and talking about one of my favorite subjects, which is libraries, one of the great resources in communities all over the place, all over the country, and often not thought about often enough in my mind. And,
Well, thank you, Matt, and thank you for inviting me to your show today.
Oh, well, that's great. You got a lot of things going on at the
We
library.
do. Our library is a very busy library. Many libraries are seeing a resurgence now. There's kind of a renaissance of libraries. Library use, people use libraries in a variety of different ways now. So, we're running 1,200 to 1,300 people a day at the Shrewsbury Public Library. So we have plenty of customers, and they're using us for all different sorts of things, whether that's for free Wi-Fi or for public computers or a nice place to spend time with children, or whether that's the programs they want to attend, as always, the collections they can get at the library.
Yes,
So
yes.
a mix of traditional and kind of newer uses. But
Yeah, that's what and we were talking about this a little bit. When budgets come out town by town, the one area that I wish more money was spent on is books.
Yes.
Because
yeah.
I'm a book reader,
Right.
and I appreciate that. And particularly in your library, it's great to see the computer usage for a lot of people. That saves people a lot of money. I mean, that's a real
Definitely.
practical. The Wi-Fi, all that is great. more money on books
Yeah.
is what I
Well,
wish communities would
that's
start
something
spending.
that we've been advocating for a number of years in the local budget process. And I will tell you that in this coming budget year, for the town manager's first recommendation on the budget for the library, he does include a sizable increase for materials, which is really important for people's access to materials.
Sure.
And they find what they want when they come in the library and not have to always place a hold on it. Even things like summer reading titles or things that people might need for specific requests. But also, we're building print collections and electronic collections. A lot of people enjoy ebooks. A lot of people enjoy print books. So we're building both types of collections. So we're seeing some progress on that. We're really grateful for the town manager's support of that. We're hoping that that goes through all the way to the town meeting process.
Sure,
that level
sure.
of support.
And I'll grudgingly admit that people do read on, was it Kindle?
They
and
do,
you
right?
can tell that I am not. I like a book, and I love libraries because I can go find books that I'm not going to
Yeah.
be able to afford all the books I like to
Right.
read. But
You're in the majority. Most people using libraries still want a print title.
and that's both comforting to hear as well as I do anticipate that there are still a lot of us who like
It's
to
a great
read.
technology. A book is a very simple, useful,
And even
efficient
younger
technology.
people,
Oh, yeah.
love to.
Yeah.
They may read different things than maybe I
Right.
want to read,
Yep.
but they still read and
Right.
they like books. So
Yeah.
that's good to hear.
great.
So let's promote that,
Okay.
not just in Shrewsbury, but in communities everywhere.
Yeah.
Because that I think that gets neglected somewhere along the line.
we loan out about 500,000 books a year, so I would say those books are pretty strong.
Sure.
Book use is pretty strong.
And needed. So there we go. That's
That's good.
my
Yeah.
personal pitch to
Yeah.
to anybody who's listening out there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Support library budgets for books. What else besides, you mentioned children's, and I believe you have a children's program
Right,
that's starting
so
up.
we are always looking for grant opportunities to enhance services at the library. And we recently applied for something called the Library Services and Technology Act grant, which is a federal grant administered through a state agency, the Board of Library Commissioners. And this grant that we applied for is to encourage creative play for very young children, with the understanding that creative play is a very important part of learning for young children. Young children's lives, even little preschoolers tend to be very scheduled, very directed, and there's a lot of work done, especially an initiative called Mind in the Making, about how creative free play helps children learn a variety of skills.
Sure.
Whether that's how to relate to other people, how to figure things out and have determination and creativity, all kinds of aspects of learning are developed through creative play. So we used the grant to improve 2 spaces in our building in the children's area. One is an interior play space, and in that we have just acquired through the grant program all sorts of great new play items for children. So there's a great little store market theme, so they can shop and use a cash register and work with each other selling and buying. And then there's a wonderful little kitchen item where they can cook up those materials, and it's great to see children really playing with each other, playing with parents, walking over, serving mom the item that they just cooked up and so
Sure.
forth. So a lot of manipulatives and items where it lets children use their brain and think about what they might do with it. The other space that is not in place yet, but that we're working on in the spring, is what we're calling our construction site, which will be out in our courtyard. We have a beautiful courtyard just off of our children's room, and we'll be installing imagination playground blocks. These are these big oversized blocks that children can use to create anything they want, whether it's a castle or a bridge or whatever.
Neat.
And we'll have little wheelbarrows and hard hats and vests out there for kids to play and kind of create their own ideas about what they want to work on. And that funding for those 2 items is through that federal grant I mentioned. But we've also had support from some individuals. We had a donation in memory of Mary Jordan, a Shrewsbury resident who passed on a number of years ago, who her family dedicated gifts in memory of her mom, and so we're using that. Mary was an educator, so this would have played right
nice.
into her. And then in. Our construction company involved in the library expansion project, Fontaine Brothers, is supporting us with a donation, as well as a former Shrewsbury resident, Jack Strzelecki, who donated in memory of his wife. So in addition to kind of these new encouraging play spaces, we're doing training for our staff about the value of creative play and how to integrate those into our story programs, as well as programming for the public, parents, grandparents, educators, and so forth, about why play is so important.
I'll bet the grandparents get it.
That's right.
Because that's what we grew up doing with our kids, right?
Right.
And now, but there is this generational thing where I don't think, because everything is now.
Right, there's
so
a lot, and there's
boom,
a lot
boom,
of
boom, you
competition
do this.
with devices. You know,
Yes.
devices can distract children, and you know, if we always have children involved in, you know, scheduled classes and so forth, it doesn't give them much of a chance to figure out, you know, a lot of things on their own. So
I agree.
That's the intent
I
of
agree.
it.
Oh, that's super. And then in the little bit that we have left, time-wise, you've got some new staff people as well.
Right. So we have a new head of children's services, Sonia Drotar, who is just doing an amazing job in our children's room. We have a new young adult librarian, Annie Lee King, and she is really doing some great programming with teens, especially on like early release days and Friday afternoons when we have tremendous amount of middle schoolers visit our library. And then we have a new reference librarian we attracted out from Las Vegas, Nevada, who joined us,
neat.
and her name is Suzanne Gorham. So 3 new staff members in very important service areas in our library.
Well, great. So go in and meet them.
Yes, please
and,
do,
And
yeah.
if anybody has any questions, how do they get hold of anybody at the library?
They can, first of all, they could call if that's the preference, 508-841-8609, or they can email the library. And the easiest way is splreference@cwmars.com.
Great.
Okay.
Well, thank you for joining us and sharing a
good.
little bit about the library. And this is a microcosm of what happens in libraries all over the place.
Right.
So please spend money on books. That's my message for today at libraries. Thank you very
Okay,
much
thank
for
you, Matt.
joining us.
Okay.
And we'll be right back. Hi, I'm here with Ted Strzelecki, CEO of Solar Wolf Energy. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Wanted to learn a little bit more about what you do. At first, what is the benefit of solar energy? You know, I'm a big fan of, and have been for years, but for people who maybe aren't as aware of what solar energy is and how it works, can you tell us a little bit about the
Sure.
benefits?
So the benefits, the obvious benefits are the environmental rewards of it. I think all of us who are our parents and those who care about the children and generations behind us, I think we owe them a world that we inherited, to take it and make it better, to leave it for them. So the renewable aspect of it, of not having to use fossil fuels and burn dirty coal, things like that, those are always obvious. There's a lot of financial incentives as well, which, hey, who couldn't use some more money? It's always a wonderful thing to be able to either save or perhaps even put some money into your pocket just by utilizing the sun for your electricity.
Sure. Well, let's talk about that a little bit. There are incentives tax-wise anymore in some of the
There
states,
are.
like Massachusetts, obviously.
So
where-
there's essentially, break it down in 2 brackets. There's a federal incentive, which that gives you in 2019, up until the end of this year, there is a 30% tax credit, which is essentially, if you're self-employed or you have tax liability, the entire cost of the system, rather, you're able to take 30% of that and not have to pay that in to the federal government.
Okay.
Or if you're a family that usually gets a nice rebate back, credit returned back to you every year, you're able to, at that point, extend that another 30%. So let's say you put a $30,000 solar array in your home. From the federal government, you would get an extra $9,000 back to you. And you know, that's always a wonderful thing. And as far as state-wise, there are states, Massachusetts being one, where they give you an additional $1,000, and then as well as that, the utilities companies through the state of Massachusetts also pay you for your consumption. On a residential side, they pay you anywhere from 5 to 12 cents a watt for everything that you use, for everything that you consume.
Oh, really?
And that's for
Okay.
10 years. That's pretty great.
That's-
On
yeah.
a commercial side, it's much less per watt, knowing you're going to use a lot more electricity. However, the promise to you is they pay you for 20 years.
Oh, interesting.
So-
commercials, 20 years. versus the
Yes,
residential.
yes. So I think on a business and on a commerce side of things, it's a great thing to market too for businesses, saying, hey, we're doing the right thing, we're being responsible, both financially for our customers, shareholders, things like that, but also on the green side, you're environmentally and you're morally responsible. And that's a win all the way around for every business.
Sure. Now, and different states have different refunds or incentives. Okay,
Of course.
in Massachusetts, that I'm surprised to hear that the incentive is so great for residential. I didn't realize that they were paying you for that. Now, when you work with somebody, whether it's a residential or commercial, your business model is that you sell the solar array, because I know that there's also leasing. And
Correct.
Some
So
companies.
I'll get into that a little bit. So with the whole leasing versus owning, there are municipalities in Massachusetts and in other states where the municipality, the town controls the electric department, the lighting department, things like that. Most of those towns and the residents in those towns, they're unaware that they can actually have solar. Only because, in years past, when solar really started to gain a lot of traction, those people would call the then few solar companies that did exist. They offered the lease-only model, and the town didn't want essentially competition for their electric bill.
Okay.
So those people were told, no, you can't do it, you can't have it, because they only leased. Whereas now, the most of the installs for solar today on a residential side are in fact ownership. So the people are buying the system, they own it. They get the financial incentives and the rewards and the tax credits. Again, going back to the leasing thing, if you lease it, the leasing company that provided the panels to you at no cost, they keep all the incentives.
All right.
When you weigh that, you actually make money not only on the appreciation side of your home going up in value when you do own it, but when you were leasing it, they kept all the incentives. And to think of it in this context, if it's better to lease versus own, if they can build tens or hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue off of your roof and my roof and anyone else's roof potentially if we all leased, they're making that much money. How much are you not getting as a homeowner?
Oh, that's interesting.
If you lease it. So it's always better to own your system. You have more control of it. And like I said, municipalities across the country, there is no debate on if you can have it or not if you do purchase the system.
Sure. Okay. I didn't realize that either. So for communities who have their own utility companies, the only thing somebody can do, but they can do it, is to purchase.
Correct.
And then you have guarantees, warranties on those.
So we at Solar Wolf, we offer a 20-year warranty. It's one of the longest in the industry, and obviously on a national scale. So we do Massachusetts down to Georgia as well as Texas. There are a growing market share down in the southern part of the country, Florida being one of them, Texas, Illinois is actually coming on pretty strong right now. So as the incentives come up, the demand goes up because the ROI is better for the end user. So, with us, we think it's imperative that if you're going to sell the system and the people are going to own it, it just goes without saying they should have a warm blanket, if you will, knowing that you're with them for the longevity of it. If the panels last for 20 to 25 years at a minimum warranty, it's only right the people who install it back that up as well. It's peace of mind.
Sure. So one of the things that you hear, we do have enough sunshine in Massachusetts too.
We do.
We do, right? I mean,
We certainly
because you
do.
hear that. Oh, it's the Northeast. You can't have solar in the Northeast.
So, there's solar in Canada and in northern parts of Russia. And so, Massachusetts, we're actually, I think you're right. You're really onto something there because with Massachusetts, people think, half the year is snow, half the year is too hot, right?
I've heard that. I've heard this.
So this integrated with battery technology as we go forward in 2019 and looking forward even more so, whatever we overproduce during the days or days we're on vacation and we're not home for a week or two at a time, we're storing that energy to be used in the evening or in the wintertime. Those with electric heat, this is a real concern as the price of oil and natural gas go up. This is a key thing. So I know a lot of solar companies, us included, are switching people back into electric heat. Because if you have the roof space, it just makes sense financially. why not let the sun pay for your heat all winter?
Sure.
And then you don't have to worry about if it's 64 or 68 or where it is.
But that is, I have heard that never really resonated that being true. I mean, we have sunshine here.
Oh,
well, that's
sure.
great. And I have to admit, a bias. I like solar conceptually better than wind. It's not intrusive. It doesn't harm the environment. You know, to look at big wind farms and that
True,
kind of
the
deal.
noise is a factor.
And the
right?
noise,
it's a very real thing. And you know what's nice about solar is there's no moving parts, right? So you know when you drive through West Texas, so we do from Dallas to Lubbock and all those, so that's about a 5-hour drive. When you drive through West Texas, there is a very, very, very large amount of wind farms there. Now, there's not a lot of homes. It's mostly farms, but so they don't have to deal with it. But in other places, you know, Kansas, Iowa.
Well, I think of off the shore.
So
Massachusetts.
that's an
I don't
aesthetic
love that
thing.
idea.
That's an aesthetic
many
thing. And
reasons,
for the
yeah.
longest time, that didn't go through. And it seems like now that's gaining traction. And for those who really enjoy the beach, enjoy nature, you wouldn't want to see that, you know, in the
Or
woods
fish.
or off the shore, right? It is a real concern aesthetically. I agree with you 100%. I do think solar is the way to go versus wind. But, you know, in the end, they both have their benefits.
Well, that's great. And we're going to have to end it with that. I appreciate your coming by. And
Thanks for having us.
Teaching us a little bit about, I've learned a lot, and I trust everybody else has too today.
Thank you so
thank
much.
you.
Appreciate
Thank you. And we'll be right back. Hoping that today we treat everybody we meet with kindness, respect, and tolerance. Thanks for joining us. Until next time.